This is how to move all checked rows to another tab. Previously, we've had this set up where we have checkboxes, and if I check a checkbox, it's going to move to the other tab, right? And here's the script. We've used this previously in other videos. Keeps working. So I select this one, it's going to move over. Okay, but this time I want to do something different. Let me disable this. This time I want to select multiple, run a single script, and move all of them over at once. Okay, so this script obviously isn't going to cut it for us because this runs every time something is edited. So it's going to move things over as they are checked. I want to check them, have them stay on the original sheet, and then when I run the script, have them move over to the complete area. This one obviously is not going to be an on edit. I'm going to call this moveChecked. I don't need any parameters. Okay. First thing I want to do is get the sheet. SpreadsheetApp.getActive. This equals sh.getSheetByName. I'm just going to be running this on the new tab. And const outSheet equals the complete tab. Okay, so those are the three things I need initially: is the sheet itself, the spreadsheet itself, my in tab, my complete tab, my out tab. I want the data, and for this, the data is going to be the new tab, getRange, row 2, right? I'm not going to be running this on row 1, there's no need to. Row 2, column 1, number of rows, ss.getLastRow -1, since we're starting at row 2, and 3 columns wide. Okay, and let's just make sure that's getting everything we need. Oh, .getValues. So this last one it's showing me is September 29th, 132. And that is the correct one, September 29th, 132. Now I'm going to need somewhere to put the data I'm going to be out exporting that I'm going to put onto the complete tab. So I'm going to make a new array, out equals, and I'm just going to make it an array. Now I want to loop through all of the data, and I want to put anything checked into the out array. Technically, you can do this with data.filter, where you can do out equals data.filter, and here in your function, I believe it's E2, I believe is the filter version, but we need to be removing the items from the spreadsheet at the same time, so we actually can't use the filter very efficiently. So instead, we're going to do for let I equals 0. I'm not going to do let I in data because this doesn't recount itself, and we're going to be deleting stuff from the array, so I want it to recount the length every time. So let I equals 0, I is less than data.length, I ++. And the most basic thing we're doing here is if data I2, because this is 0 indexed, so this is 0, 1, 2. So if data I2 equals true, out.push data I. Let's just test that. All right, so we got September 5th, 37, September 11th, 350, September 22nd, 121, and September 29th, 132. 37, 350, 121, 132. So it's moving the correct things over to out so we can be sure we're looking at the correct place now. The two other things I need this to do is delete the row from the sheet and delete the value from the array. So let's go ahead and do the sheet first and say ss.deleteRow. And the row we want is I plus 2. That math is important. So we're starting here on the sheet, right? The first sheet row is row 2, but the array is 0 indexed. So it's seeing this as 0, 1, 2, okay? So if we want this row, that's going to be array row 0. This is going to be array row 4. So we're going to delete sheet row I plus 2. I hope that makes sense. Now we also need to remove that from the array, from the data array. So we want to do data.splice. This is how to remove elements from an array. It gives you that. So splice, it takes a start number and then how many we want to delete. Okay, and it says removes elements from an array and if necessary inserts new elements. There is another copy of this that allows you to add elements in their place, but we don't need to do that right now. We're just deleting elements. The element here we want is I, right? Because the array is what we're iterating over, so I is going to be at the correct position, and we want to delete 1. Let's try that. 2, 3, 4, excellent. And it deleted all of them there too. Now I want to undo that real quick. And I want to see what happens if I have 2 consecutive check marks. That's what I thought. So it is not correctly deleting the elements if you have 2 in a row. And that's because it's still iterating over the entire data.length. So it deletes everything here, or it finds a row where column C is true, and then it deletes that row from the sheet and from the data. But then it continues on to the next row I. So like this, it checks here, it sees that C is true, it deletes the row. Now it moves on to I equals 1. And remember, I equals 1 is the second row, so that's here, but it's deleted this one. Okay, so it's actually moving to here. So there's one more step. Here at the bottom, we want to do I minus minus. So if it finds, if column C is true, then add that row to the out array. Delete that row from the sheet. Delete that row from the data array. Then return to the same instance, to the same row, so that it can check if the next consecutive row is true. And now if I run this, it'll run correctly. And it got rid of all of them properly. Okay, the last step obviously is we need to get this into our out sheet. OutSheet.getRange. Row OutSheet.getLastRow plus 1. And we're going to drop this on the first column. The number of rows is out.length. And in this case, I know that there are 3 columns in that out. There are other times where this may be a variable number of columns, in which case, instead of doing a hard number, you would do out 0.length. So that would just do as many columns as that array contains. But we know it's 3. .setValues out. Okay, so the last thing, we've created our out array. We've filled it with the proper data. We've deleted the elements from the sheet and from the data source. And now we're going to push all of those onto, we're going to push the out array onto the complete tab. Execution complete. Those are all deleted. Those have all been added here. Since checkboxes are a data validation, we do need to go and change that for the first instance, for the first time this is run properly. Now I do want to show you we don't need to do that again, because whenever it adds rows, it uses the last row as the base of what that row should look like as the formatting. So if I go ahead and check this one and run it again, those both delete, those both move over, and they are already checked. Okay. Now, alternatively, because if they're on complete, you may not need this. You could just remove this column when you move it over, but right now we're leaving that. So those are the steps. Let's put that back. All right, so the steps are: get all your sheets, get the data, because it's a convention and it's really best practice to access the sheet as little as possible. So we're going to get all of the data at once instead of getting the row every time from the sheet. We need an out array. We iterate over the entire data set. If the checkbox is true, push that row to the out array, delete that row from the source sheet, delete that row from the data array, and then go back one, go back one row, go back one element to make sure that you catch all of them. Finally, set the range on the out sheet as that out array.